And we are back on the live stream. How you doing, folks? My name is Daryl Prell. Welcome to the next session. It's been, I bet you, 20 minutes, maybe even more since we were last online. This is crazy because we've been going back to back to back all morning. If you want to see the ones that maybe you missed, check out nojitter.com, or you can check out enterpriseconnect.com, and you can actually see those past interviews that have taken place this morning. There's 4 or 5 of them already, if not more, that have taken place. Phenomenal content, good conversations, anywhere from legal issues to what's going on with Microsoft for business, Skype for business, to SD-WAN and everything else, all over the board, and some really funny, engaging people who are quite smart, and they're at the show, so please check that out. If you're watching this live now, then that's probably because you want to meet Barb Grothe. So Barb, how you doing?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing well. So Barb is from the BAZ group, and if you're not sure to spell, that's B-A-Z, and she is, well, she's just a smart woman. You're going to meet her shortly. But Barb, now you moderated a session this morning, didn't you?
Yes.
Now what session was it?
Our session was this morning at 8 o'clock, and it was Endpoint Dilemmas. And we talked about, people say the desk phone is dying, but we did talk about the desk phone, and we had several people on our panel. It was very well received. It was a good session.
So then I got to ask the question, is the desk phone dead?
Well, it depends. Right now, I don't see that it's dead. If you go out to the exhibit booth here at Enterprise Connect, you'll see Cisco, ShoreTel, Mitel, all of the major players.
Yep.
They all are showing their brand new fancy desk phones. So I think it could be in the future, but right now, I don't think desk phones are dead.
So desk phones aren't dead because they're showing, because it's interesting, right? They could be, even though they're showing their new devices, that doesn't mean that, it's the end of an era. So let me ask the question differently. Is the era changing from what it used to be, the end device?
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
And that's what the liveliness of the panel showed today, is there were panel members from Polycom, they were panel members from Plantronics, and of course Plantronics is pushing the headset and not desk phone, but Polycom is pushing, desk phone.
Yeah.
So really it came down to today that it depends on the use case of the individual corporation. Some of them are great, they don't have any desk phones at all. They all use soft phones, headsets, and it works out quite well, but that's in environments where they're all mobile. They're not tethered to a desk. And it also came out today in the talk that there are 5 different devices that people use constantly. Their smartphone, they use their desk phone, they have their headset, laptop, and their iPad. So there's 5 different devices. So we communicate in many, many different ways.
That gives a whole different definition to the bring your own device discussion, right? Because now it's not mobile devices, it's like communication devices as well.
Right, and that came out this morning as well in the introductions and the presentation, that desk phones, a lot of people will say that they're dead, but what I see at this show, we're still at least 5 years out. I did do a deployment though with 750 users where there were no desk phones anywhere.
Not a single one?
Not one. Of the 750 employees, only 2 of them came forth and said, I want a hard desk phone and I do not want to use this headset or the soft phone environment. So that's 99% of the enterprise went with no desk phones at all. So it is coming. People are warming up to it. But cost-wise, if you price out the cost of your headset and the cost of what the endpoint would be, it's about a wash.
It's about a wash.
So I don't want consumers to think, oh, if I get rid of all my desk phones, I'm going to save tons of money. That's not really the case because you still have to have an audio, you still have to have a device.
Are you seeing changes, shall we say, in the preferred types of device based on, let's call it, the generational presence within the workforce? Shall we say, the new millennials coming in versus those of us who may have been around a year or two longer?
Not really. There's still just a standard desk phone. And in fact, the millennials, they don't even want desk phones.
Well, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, they don't even want them. They don't even want the basic one. And it came up this morning in our talk that a lot of the vendors are coming out with these high, fancy desk phones that do video and they're in color and they're gorgeous. But if you have that same thing on your laptop, why invest all that money on that desk phone endpoint when the same thing happens on the laptop? So that was discussed too, and it does. It boils down to the use case. There are uses for those expensive hard phones in an executive type area. You still have to have hard phones in a conference room area. You have to have a audio device. So conference rooms with in the day, the star phones, those are still.
But that's probably a good segue. You talk about there's uses, depending on the location, the role, the purpose. So how do you decide what user gets what kind of endpoint device?
Well, it depends. Sometimes the CEO dictates it from the top that states these end users are going to have this device and these executive type workers are going to have this device. So a lot of times it does get dictated from the top down. In the deployment that we did with no desk phones, again, that was from the top down where the CIO didn't want any desk phones anywhere.
The CIO did not want any desk phones.
The CIO did not. And then the CEO became a champion, and the CEO did without his desk phone, and then everyone followed suit. Even the 60-somethings, that a desk phone has been a 50-year-old blanket to them.
Yeah.
Yes. They even got on board because the CEO of that particular deployment, he was a champion for it. So it went really well.
Do you find that maybe because, shall we say, mobile phones have become so, pervasive now in our day-to-day life that even, shall we say, those who are nearing retirement, they're more amenable to change because they're being forced to it just through day-to-day living life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that has followed suit because our smartphones do so many things and we're so used to them doing everything. Then we get to the office and we look at our hard phone and it's like we want to look at all the missed calls we've had and we want to see, who dialed us last. So they want to emulate their smartphone features with their desk phone. And now, the vendors are starting to come out with those as well. But we're used to everything that's on the smartphone. We want that on our desk phone now. We're getting spoiled.
So then let me ask the question from a pure monetary point of view. With so many choices and types of devices, how should an enterprise budget for endpoints? Because as I listen to you, it becomes really clear to me that that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
Because we're also in transition, it almost feels like. So am I budgeting for what used to be? Am I budgeting for what's going to be? Because they have a shelf life.
Right. They do have a shelf life. But I will reiterate that when I go to the old Sears stores, Sears still has a roam system that we deployed back in the late 70s. Those are still, it's 2017.
Yeah.
Those phones are still in the Sears stores. So talk about longevity for a desk phone.
Right.
That's a long, long time. And they're still out there, as I mentioned. So it does get difficult to budget for this because of, as I said earlier, the 5 different endpoints.
Right.
You have to budget for bring your own device. You have to budget for, they need laptops. They need their iPads. These are tools, communication tools. Give me the right tools, to help us be productive in our workplace.
So now, are there any tips or tricks that you help when you're working with CEOs, CIOs on how to approach the budgeting for that? Even maybe questions you ask and help qualify?
We do. We have a series of system requirements that we go through with them, and these use cases, it's becoming more important now than it used to back in the day, because now we have knowledge workers, we have people that are on the road. We're so used to, we can pull over on the side of the road and start a conference call now on our smartphones, where we weren't able to do that a few years back. So the budgeting purpose does become difficult because there are so many different devices out there. But as far as budgeting for endpoint devices, it's still going to be a wash between that hard phone versus soft phone licenses or headsets.
It's even amazing how culturally we've changed, in the sense of, for me to drive down the road and have a hands-free conference call is acceptable now, where 5 or 10 years ago, that background noise wouldn't have been acceptable.
Right, it wouldn't have been.
Right, so it is a changing world we live in. Tell me more about the BAZ Group.
Oh, the BAZ Group, we're based in Toledo, Ohio. We are an IT consulting firm. We are independent, so we don't sell any product, but we advise our clients on technology decisions. So we will give them, pros and cons of different technology issues that they're going after. We will come in and help them and be their knowledge worker during the time that we're on that project.
Now, if I wanted to learn more about the BAZ Group, is there a website?
thebazgroup.com.
Thebazgroup.com. So if you're in that situation where you need to figure out which endpoint is right for you, for your short term and your long term, as well as how to budget it, check out the BAZ Group, thebazgroup.com. Barb, thanks a lot. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
Okay, thank you.
Stay tuned, folks. Another live stream coming up imminently. I'm looking at my next guest right now. We're going to sign off here and be back in a few seconds. Take care.